welcome back, you lovely weirds, to this. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. A lot of you guys have been asking me, like, hey, can you kind of show us your custom formation, your custom tactics, and your instructions that you use for the 3-4-3 formation that I use in my Ajax career mode that has done me plenty well, world class, and has done me just as well on legendary. So for you guys looking to, just spice up career mode a little bit, switch up your formation to this. It'll keep your hairs on the back of your neck standing up, I'll tell you that much, because playing 3 in the back is gonna be stressful. So the formation that I run is a custom formation. The closest thing you can find is you scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you go and you hit 3-4-3 diamond. But as you can see right here, the difference is that the right mid and the left mid are way farther out. We play way more narrow. So if we go back up to our formation, you'll see that they're scooted way in a little bit. Well, pretty much they're lined up perfectly with the right and the left center back. And while I play center mids in these positions, they still are left mids and right mids. And the reason for that is because they get unique instructions when they're a right mid and a left mid, as opposed to if they're a center mid. And this is what I'm talking about. So we go into instructions. First things first, we have Dolberg up top. Play central, target man, conservative, interceptions. The reason why you have conservative interceptions is just so that he gets a little bit more stamina, and then you always have your strikers on press back line. Okay, so now we go over to Quincy Promise and our wingers, and the key thing about the wingers is you have them on, you don't have to have them on stay forward. I like to have it that way, just so that they're in the correct position on counterattacks, but you want them on stay wide and get in behind. Normal interceptions and support crossing, that's pretty much up to you, but the two key ones are to stay wide and get in behind. The reason why you want them to stay wide is because the wingers in this formation are your total width. There's no one overlapping, there's no fullbacks overlapping in this formation, so that is it. And also, you want to make defenders, the fullback or the center back, to commit to either coming up and marking you or running with your winger. Or here's the other thing right here, if we look in, and this is why we keep our our center mids as right mids and left mids, is they get these unique opportunity to do a cut inside chance creation and then also a get in behind. And you'll be like, why are they cutting inside if they're already inside? Well, here's the thing. You have them both on cut in inside, okay? So you have Klaassen on cut in inside and Cyprian to cut in inside. And then what that does is it creates kind of like a crisscross, and that really tends to confuse the computer. That's why you'll see that, like, sometimes when I'm scoring these goals, my midfielders are just making runs where they can't get marked. So the reason that you do the cut inside for a Klaassen, you would say, and then Promise to stay wide, is spacing. So you have Dolberg sitting on top. Yeah, he's the target man. He comes, receives the ball. Now, that's one center back occupied. Now, the fullback either has to make a decision to come and mark Promise, who's probably going on the overlap, or do they go ahead and have Klaassen, who's also running in? Basically, you're creating an overload to one side, hopefully, so that there's not enough defenders to mark you. And with Klaassen and Cyprian having, pretty good pace, if they hesitate for 1 second, they're going to be in. Hopefully you play the ball into Ziyech or Dolberg. You can turn and then play a through ball in to either Klaassen or Cyprian on either side. Or if they end up marking Klaassen, you hit Promise, who's going to be streaking in on the overlap. So that's the basic offensive philosophy of this formation and how it's so successful up against the CPU on world class and on legendary. And you can see that on the left side it's the same thing. So Cyprian's on cut inside and get in behind. Lozano is on stay forward and stay wide and get in behind as well. Cyprian, I have him on comeback on defense because he's a little bit more athletic and better at defending than Klaassen. That's kind of up to you. Definitely though, Dendonker, as you can see, he's on balanced defense, stay back while attacking, and aggressive interceptions. He gets really tired really quick, so it's important that you do have a capable backup CDM to bring in late in games. Now, for our instructions for our center backs, it's basically they're all stay back while attacking, and you can put them on any interceptions. I have them on aggressive, but you can put them on normal. Conservative is a little bit iffy up against the CPU, especially just because if you give the CPU too much space on world class or legendary, they can put a couple away on you. Alright, we're going to move on to custom tactics right here. As you can see, my speed is very, very quick. We want to go ahead, grab the ball. There's a lot of pressing that we do in this, and once we grab the ball, we want to be just on our horse, okay? So we have it mixed passing at 50, just so that you're not too clumped up. It's, you know, it's balanced. You can either play the long ball, you can go short. It's pretty nice. And always go organized. You don't want to mess about when you're in your own half. You just want to go ahead and know that your guy is always going to make that run, is always going to be there, and you don't give the ball away in a dangerous area. Now, for chance creation, this mix and matches every game, I'm not going to lie. So, passing, I think 60 is around there, but if you really want to, you can bump it up to like 67. I would say anything above like 55 is pretty solid. Crossing, I like to do a lot of crossing, but maybe that's not your style. It depends on your personnel. We have Dolberg, who's big, he's strong, he's tall, he's good with his noggin. So we're going to cross in a lot of balls. And I feel like this also makes a lot more of your players run into spots where they're crossing. So maybe, even though I'm not like throwing it up for a lob, I'll be looking for the cutback more times than not when I'm on the wings, especially if like Promise overlaps and he's unmarked. Usually I'm looking for the cross, for the cutback cross more than a lob cross. Now for shooting, it's up to you. I'm not really sure exactly what it super does, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, the more that you do it, the more runs or the more, I guess, risks that your players will take to maybe go in for rebounds or to get into shooting positions. So I like to put it up to like 67, to be honest. And then positioning, this is also up to preference. So freeform, if you want more beautiful play and less predictability, freeform is the way to go. But if you're struggling to create chances consistently, I wouldn't be ashamed to go on organized, just for the same reason why you have organized on your build-up play, is because once you're on organized and you have the repetitions in, you will always know that that striker is going to move there, that my center mid will make this run now. It becomes very, very apparent the patterns that will happen and the patterns that work. So if you are struggling, I would put it on organized and play with that for a while. And if you get bored, then, you know, as you master the system, I would put it on freeform. Defensively, pressure, I put it on 50. Aggression, I play a pretty high aggression, just because I don't want them getting all the way to our center backs. Since we only have 3 there, I want us pressing up, and I want us to go ahead and win the ball, you know, with your midfielders. So those are the tactics and instructions, but the big thing, I think, in order for you to play this formation successfully, is to get the right personnel. If you don't have the right personnel in this formation, especially on the defensive end, you're gonna have a bad time. You just cannot play slow center backs or fullbacks in the outside positions. You will get run amok. You need hyper athletic players like a Kenny Tete, someone with high pace. So he's 85 pace, and you need, you know, decent enough strength. So he's at 77. And then we have Riddlewald, but I actually, you know, went out and bought someone like Huste, because you take a look at Huste, he's got 90 speed now, great stamina, and great agility. You need players with good agility, good pace, and then the same thing with Sanchez, 88 speed, amazing strength, and great jumping and aggression. You need the Bailly types, you need the Boateng types at your center back positions in this formation in order for you to win. You can't really skimp on height either, because there's a lot of crosses or cutback crosses to the far back post. So you need people who can win those aerial battles that are around like 6 foot tall at least. You can get away with a little bit less speed in the central center back position, but he needs to be, you know, he needs to be a towering force. He needs to be really strong and just dominate all the headers. The CDM position is the anchor to this formation. And in fact, these 3 right here, right here, need to be hyper athletic as well. Dendonker, as you can see, he doesn't necessarily, your CDM doesn't necessarily have to be the fastest, but he's got amazing stamina and he's got amazing strength and needs to be tactically aware of what's going to be doing. He is the key to your defense. You want him to be the one that's breaking up the play, because once they're onto your back 3, it's going to be a disadvantage and you're going to have a bad day. And it's the same thing. Clausen, he's not the best defensively, as you can see, but he's good enough. You know, 71 stand tackle, he's nice and pacey. And then Cyprian's the same thing. You know, he's not the greatest. You know, 83 stand tackle is actually pretty good. But then You look at the sprint speed, he's almost up to 80. You look at the strength, he's at 80. Essentially, you're mostly playing defense with those 3 of your midfielders. So you want them to be fast, and you want them to be able to go ahead and stick a foot in. At the cam position, it's up to you. If your style of play is a little bit more fluid, then maybe someone like a Shinji Kagawa, you know, could be up in there. If you're finding yourself struggling getting barged off the ball, maybe you go someone a little bit stronger. I actually prefer cams that are pretty strong just because the center backs are always on your ass in this game. Ziyech doesn't have the highest strength, as you can see, 62, but he does well to fight off people. So I would say the bare minimum for the strength of your cam should be around 62. Now, for your right mids and your left mid, that's personally, it's your preference. I like players that are extremely fast on the wing. Other people's like people who are more technical and high agility and better in the, you know, crossing stats. Personally, I think in this formation, the wingers are a little bit lost. They don't get as much shine as other formations, so maybe, you know, you buy cheap young options at your winger positions, but I would invest in a very good target man, a very good reliable striker who can also turn provider. Here's the key thing about him. He needs to be strong, and he's going to be the one that you're probably playing the balls into at the top of the box, and then when Cyprian or Clausen or your center mids are coming in for the crisscross or coming into positions, you need a player that has good enough, you know, short passing and vision to actually play those dangerous balls in. Now, Dolberg doesn't have the best of vision, as you can see, 58. And then if you go to a short passing, not terrible, you know, at 72. So you need, it could be better if you have like a target man in there, but you could also play, I've had success, you know, playing with pacier people that have get in behind, that frees up space. So this formation is all based around understanding where the runs are, having the athleticism and confidence, you know, to defend one-on-one if it has to be with your center backs, and then finding the space and being patient and when the attack arrives. So basically this gave you kind of like a full overview tactically of what I tried to do in the Ajax career mode. If you want to see these concepts in motion and in practice working up against legendary difficulty, go ahead and check out my Ajax career mode. Click over here, right here, ding. If you want to go ahead and see my other video explaining how to break down legendary difficulty using a different formation, go ahead and click over here, ding. And if you guys found this video helpful, go ahead, take your hard erect nipple, smush it into the like button, share with your friends, really helps the channel out. Anyway, my name is V-. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Remember, stay yourself, stay humble, and be weird.